Okay, ma'am. So it's an honor to welcome our guest speaker today, Dr. Sugandha Singh, who is from Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, and we are lucky to have him. Mr. Varun Trivedi, please do not share your screen. Thank you. So now for the formal welcome, I invite the co-organizing secretary and the assistant professor of zoology, Government PG College, Bajpur, Uttarakhand, who is working as the co-organizing secretary in this invited lecture series on biological science. So I invite you, Dr. Jaya Khan Pal ma'am, for the formal welcome of Dr. Sugandha Singh, who is the chief speaker today in this invited lecture series on biological science. Thank you. Dr. Jaya, please, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Adar, sir. A very good morning and welcome to all the eminent speaker, teachers and students to this third part of our invited lecture series on biological science. On behalf of GPGC Bajpur, SHJ College Shahjahanpur, and on behalf of entire organizing committee, I am very pleased to welcome Dr. Sugandha Singh, Head Department of Biotechnology, SHG College Bhopal, MP, to deliver her lecture. Now I request to Dr. Nirupama, reporter of this series, to formally introduce our guest to our audience. Over to you, Dr. Nirupama.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all in the third day of invited lecture series on Biological Science 2023, organized by Government PG College Bajpur, US Nagar, and SS College Shahjahanpur. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce our eminent speaker for today's session, Dr. Sugandha Singh, Assistant Professor and Head, Department of Biotechnology, SGG College, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. Dr. Singh has 15 years of teaching and research experience. Dr. Sugandha Singh has great academic experience like NAC coordinator, convener coordinator at IQAC, member of library advisory committee, etc. Dr. Singh has very vast experience in publication and has published 10 papers in journals of international and national repute and also published 4 book chapter. Dr. Sugandha Singh has presented more than 22 research papers in many national and international conference repute. Dr. Singh has attended number of conferences, seminar, workshop. Dr. Sugandha Singh has won many accolades in the field of research and educations like Best Oral Presentation Award in International Conference 2017, Young Scientist Award 2014, Best Scientist Award National Conference 2014, Best Paper Award in International Conference 2013, Best Lecture on 50 years of DNA, 25 years of IVF National Seminar 2003. Dr. Sugandha Singh has been keynote speaker in various invited lecture series. Besides, Dr. Singh has delivered educational lecture in botany and biotechnology on Doordarshan. Dr. Sugandha Singh has organized many conferences, workshop, training, and act as a convener. Ma'am, we are very privileged to have you on this lecture series. Now I request Ma'am to deliver her lecture. Ma'am, please. Hello, ma'am. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Hello.
Ma'am.
हाँ आदर सर हेलो
मैम मैं ऑडिबल थी ना?
हाँ हाँ यस सुगंधा मैम कहाँ है?
Ma'am,
हेलो
ma'am, you have been introduced. Now it's over to you. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
I guess there were some
Yes.
technical glitches in between and I could not catch you. Anyways, thank you so much, sir. So, at the outset, I wish to thank IQAC, that is Internal Quality Assurance Cell of Government PG College, Bajpur, Uttarakhand, and SS College, Shahjahanpur, UP, India, and especially I wish to, accord my sincere thanks to Professor Adarsh Pandey ji and Dr. Atul Upreti ji and your entire organizing team for giving me this privilege to be a part of this August gathering of students where we would, throw light and discuss on biotechnology, a biological crosstalk, and recent trends that we have been witnessing in the coming times. So thank you so much, sir. With your permission, I wish to share my presentation. So before starting, I wish to know from audience that whether am I audible to you all, and are you able to see the slides? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. So ever since the birth of science, we have been, playing with God, from building atomic bombs to medical miracles, gene editing, human cloning. Science has created so many breakthroughs, and the same is evident in biotechnology. So there are many examples where we could find the use of cloning and reproductive genetics, which have been used thousands of years back. Some popular examples from Hindu mythology I have quoted in the present slide, like birth of Kauravas and the regeneration of body parts of gods, goddesses, and demons. And there we have also been knowing about a demon Raktabija producing clones of himself with every drop of blood touching the ground. And then very popularly cited in Hindu scriptures, Lord Ganesha's head, that is xenotransplant, xenografting. And then birth of Veerbhadra. And there are so many other examples which showcase the use of cloning and gene editing and genetic engineering techniques in the science since times immemorial. And these examples show a very strong evidence which exists between Hindu mythology and the present day modern biotechnology. So humans have manipulated genes since the dawn of civilization. Historically speaking, biotechnology has been primarily associated with food, addressing the concerns of agriculture, where we used to see the ancient man used to live the life as nomads, wandering places in search of foods and domesticating plants. Then further observations led like the production of cheese, that was the first product of biotechnology which has been used since time immemorial, and yeast being the oldest microbe which was used for fermentation processes. So coming into a classical period, we could see the leverage of biotechnology industry in terms of wine production, in terms of fermentation processes, which gathered more speed, and penicillin being the first antibiotic produced, which was very much used during Second World War. And coming on to the modern era, that is the year from 1945 onwards till present times, we have been witnessing revolutionizing breakthroughs in the field of biological sciences, like kidney transplants, organoids, making use of machine learning, artificial intelligence. The first polio vaccine was produced in those times with protein sequencers, amino acid sequencers, the discovery of DNA double helical model. And further, the science of recombinant DNA technology has opened new avenues in biological research. So this slide shows some of the key events which we have been, witnessing since times immemorial, where the natural enzymes were used for preparation of yogurt, and yeast was used for wine fermentation. Biotechnology came into existence in 1919, and then started the series of modifying the genomes of plants, animals, microbes, and variety of GMOs were introduced into the fields where transgenic genetically modified organisms which is still a topic of controversy, particularly in the area of crops, had been showcased and witnessed. Then 1997, witnessed the first animal being cloned from diploid cells. That is, all of you, I think, are aware of Dolly the sheep that was produced in Scotland. And early 2000s and late 1990s, the use of human stem cells started and began to arise. And now we are in the threshold of, making use of regenerative medicine and making use of pluripotent stem cells for further researches. So this is what biotechnology aims at, producing products or processes making use of living organisms and providing some kind of solutions to humans and society. So we are going to see the trends and the advances in biotechnology in the coming few slides, where the market segments include mainly the pharmaceutical sector, the research institutes and the biotech companies, where the recent survey shows that there's going to be a significant revenue growth during the forecast period of 2020 to 2025, and biotechnology, being a very global industry, is going to generate more than $63 billion in worldwide revenues, whether it is industry, whether it is agriculture, whether it is bioinformatics, whether it is environment, sustainability, or healthcare services. So genes have been the headline news items on the forefront now, whether it is the treatment of infectious diseases, genetic diseases, whether it is finding new tools and techniques in molecular biology for treatment of such kind of diseases, and programming the different cells of the immune system to get rid of rare diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's. So biotechnology breakthroughs in medicines involve the stem cell research, and you have been knowing about Human Genome Project, which started long back in 1990, and having potential widespread uses and applications which are being used in trays now for further researches. So yes, biotechnology is going to change our life in the coming years ahead. Now, at the intersection of biology and technology, in the previous years, or in the last decade, I should mention, we have been hearing a lot about transgenic organisms, fortified nutritional foods and substances like golden rice, making use of BT engineering, that is producing BT cotton, BT brinjal, BT crops, production of barcoded designer babies, protein biofactories, manufacturing of therapeutics, recombinants, so on and so forth. So in the coming slides, you're going to witness several trends of biotechnology. Although my talk in this session will probably not a complete lecture, but yes, I'm going to give you an overview of all the recent trends. I should say some of the recent trends in detail for enhancing your knowledge. Now, the first one which we will talk about is the use of next generation computing technology. So we have been seeing that after the Second World War, that was a major impediment in many scientific discoveries. Very crucial discoveries took place in the field of science, which paved the way for modern biotechnology after 1945. Now, recently, emergence of advanced computer technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence have enabled all the companies to expand their scope and horizon and their scale of research. So it is now trying to improve efficiency in the manufacturing processes. Now, here is an example of cloud computing technology. Now, this technology has the ability to run so many applications through the use of cloud. So it helps us to store and analyze data without buying any expensive hardware systems, and this also tries to benefit. For example, all the students are listening me, and maybe you wish to become a bio entrepreneur and you wish to start your own business, or maybe you wish to enroll in a startup. So for during the initial stage, when you require a biotechnological lab setup, you are going to get benefited by this cloud computing technology, as this is going to help early startups, and it is going to limit the expenses of your operational costs. So machine learning is again beginning, and it is trying to break the ground in biotechnology industry by finding novel regenerative pathways in, the study of planarial worms, if we talk about zoology, also in the production of different improved varieties of crops if we talk about agriculture. So artificial intelligence is again going to be a very groundbreaking tool which is going to hail biotechnology industry. Now next we come to increased stakeholder collaboration, where I should mention that again the use of cloud computing, it provides the ability to support so many stakeholders. By stakeholders I mean the academic institutions or the research organizations or individuals, startups, or you can say multinational companies who are trying to invest in biotech processes. So there are a range of technological advances which have transformed the clinical trial processes also. So this cloud computing enables data sharing. It helps to organize or enable virtual meetings. It enhances communication and enables a group of people to work together, to come together in spite of the fact where they are located. So just trying to bridge the gap, the location gap. You all can connect virtually, have meetings and come to some fruitful conclusion. So it is going to open a bigger group of research people who are going to connect for research. So again, another example is growth in the personalized treatment of rare diseases like cancer. So here I would like to mention that is a range of technological advances have been used nowadays. So initially cloud computing, cloud technology was used for helping and managing clinical trials. We all are aware, like in corona pandemic times, we know that scientists are working 24/7, the entire medical world, to come up with a vaccine. So lot many clinical trials are going in various phases across the globe. So initially the clinical trials used to be very cumbersome processes, very labor intensive processes, very manual processes, where the trial participants used to go to the clinic, to the doctor, meet the doctor in person, receive the treatment, record their side effects, and everything used to happen on paper. So drug makers or the companies who are involving in making drugs, they used to recruit large number of participants in order to make a very good sample size for their clinical trials. So this required very huge heavy investments also in marketing sources to recruit the right patients. But now the things have shifted on a very lighter mode. So with the help of machine intelligence and machine learning and artificial intelligence, the world is being heavily digitalized. And now it enables the companies to treat more patients in less time. So here students, I wish to share a small notable example with you all. There's a company which is a medical genetics company. In November 2019, this company which is known as Invitae, it announced a trial with Apple wristwatch. So the Apple wristwatch, what was the work of this watch? This watch, collected the biometric data and the results of the genetic test, which determined that the gene which is responsible for a cardiovascular disease. So this use of Apple wristwatch to collect the data and present it made the trial more accessible, and large number of people could be used for trials. On the other hand, it helps the researchers to analyze the data fast and quickly exclude those patients who do not meet the criteria of trial. So very easily, in a very fast and efficient way, the drug makers and the companies could recruit the right patients which could be used for the clinical trial. Similarly, now we come to the personalized cancer treatments that I've mentioned, and commonly caused cancers like leukemia, where a treatment is used which is known as CAR T-cell therapy. So this targets the patient's immune system and immune cells, and in the words of National Cancer Institute, Nagpur, the immune system is like it's going to attack the tumors and finish them off. So nowadays we are using this CAR T-cell therapy, and we are making the T cells genetically engineered to fight this disease. So significant progress has been made in this research, where we are teaching the body's immune system. We all are aware about the T cells and B cells and the role they play in keeping our immunity strong. They have another role where we can genetically engineer the T cells, where they can be targeted to kill specific cancer cells. So human clinical trials are in progress, and this approach can be successfully used to eliminate, remove tumors. So this slide shows the mechanism of the CAR T cell therapy. So we take the patient's blood and we isolate the T cells from the blood. Now we add a specific gene to the T cells for a special receptor, and this receptor is going to bind to the protein present in the cancer cell. So we are going to name this receptor as CAR receptors, or chimeric antigen receptor. So for this we need to grow large number of CAR T cells, and we grow them in vitro, and then we inject them back by infusion method in the patient. So we understand that the cure of cancer is yet to be discovered, but yes, we have another delivery method, which is again going in parallel with the T cell research or CAR T cell therapy, and that involves the use of exosomes. So exosomes are being versatile nanovesicles which have the ability to surmount biological barriers and deliver the bioactive compounds or molecules to specific cells and tissues. So this technique has developed many exciting approaches in drug delivery and cancer immunotherapy, and it is being nowadays used effectively to target especially the cancer cells. Now we come to cell therapies and the regenerative medicines. Now we all know about regenerative medicine, and probably you must be hearing about artificial organoids being created and artificial tissues and organs being created and implanted where any of the body part or the organ is being damaged. So this is a new field of translational research which deals with the process of replacing or engineering the damaged tissues or cells or organs, and we kind of replace them and restore their normal function. So the Nobel Prize winners here, they try to engineer the T cells and reprogram the T cells, and T cells were used as blank discs to which you can program just about anything. So they can be converted into any kind of cells. Through this discovery, they are able to combat dangerous diseases like cancer more effectively and also regenerate the lost body tissues and organs. So somewhere in the beginning I mentioned that regeneration of organs has been considered as an anecdote in Hindu mythology, and we are just, I should say, playing with God, and scientists have eclipsed this phrase, and what we could possibly not imagine is going to happen in the coming times. So the reality that today with the recent researches and the trends we are witnessing, we can rebuild and replace damaged organs. So making use of therapeutic stem cells or production of artificial organs, or trying to develop organoids in vitro and then transplanting them in the body and making the body normal is something which we are going to get very much success at. So here the researchers in US and the various biotechnology companies and firms which I have mentioned, like Scaled Biolabs, have already produced kidney organoids and stomach organoids, and the United Therapeutics has been developing humanized organs and xenograft models, where we know that pigs cannot mate with dogs and offspring cannot be produced. So here arises the need of xenograft or the xenotransplanting. Then OneSkin firm is focused on regenerating the human skin. So we just have to applaud and wait for further clinical trials and validation of these kind of researches. So it sounds very exciting that sometimes, yes, in future we will be able to regrow different body parts and reattach them to our body. Similarly, here the demand for higher agricultural yields is also surging, where we can witness wide-scale production of transgenic plants impacting horticulture. We know that global population is alarming, and we have to face the problem of food insecurity, and simultaneously we have to develop solutions and opportunities to improve the agricultural yields and the varieties of crops. So gene editing techniques are on producing varieties of various crops like wheat, corn, etc. So the biotech industry is expanding its reach and research in application, where we can see this example of cannabis, which is being utilized for its various medicinal properties, and a biotech company named Laguna Blends makes use of this hemp protein infused in coffee, which shows to have far-reaching health benefits, also required as a relaxant and a calming solution for improving the immunity and metabolism, also to reduce cholesterol and blood pressure. The applications are endless. So the legalization, the continued legalization of marijuana is going to open further opportunities in research for startups, because this has a lot of medicinal potential. Now coming on, talking about recent trends in biotechnology and not mentioning about CRISPR will not justify this theme. So the CRISPR technology will continue far beyond gene editing, where we know that these are very short palindromic repeats. It is a relatively new gene editing system, which is again a groundbreaking tool revolutionizing science of today. We have been making use of CRISPR-Cas systems, CRISPR-Cas nucleases, proteins, which have been used for a variety of multidimensional treatments of gene editing. These are very evolutionary conserved polypeptide units, which have generally shown independent functional properties, independent structural properties. So CRISPR has been widely used, and recently there was a news which you all might be aware of about a Chinese scientist who announced that he has developed a set of two twins in humans, which were born using the modification of CCR5 gene using CRISPR gene editing techniques by modifying the embryos, making the newborn babies less susceptible to HIV infection. So the same has been met with a lot of condemnation and the launch of various other movements and investigations on the part of Rice University, Southern University, and US National Institute of Health also. So again a debatable issue. How long they are going to survive and what all health effects will they have after a span of time, this is still questionable. So wonderful world of Cas9 nucleases have been now used to treat diseases in adults, and in US, San Francisco, they have used a modified version of CRISPR gene editing technique to stimulate some kind of genes, and these genes are really working for prevention of obesity in mice, and they have been very successful, and this finding has been published in the journal Science recently. And the mice had that genetic predisposition of gaining more weight, so they have somehow tried to control the expression of this gene, and they have resulted in the prevention of obesity in mice. So CRISPR has been again a family of so many DNA sequences which have been founded in the genomes of prokaryotes like archaea and bacteria, and they have been used to infect so many bacteriophages which have been infecting the bacteria. So horizon for biotechnology, and dear friends, looking forward to 2020, we will be looking for new production hosts for the production of bioactive compounds and therapeutic substances, and here we make use of cyanobacteria and microalgae, where the experts predict that the bioproduction and metabolic engineering, the tissue engineering will yield more specialized production hosts. Then studying physiology with chips. With chips we understand the microarrays and the microfluid chips, which are going to get evolved and which are going to be used in sepsis prevention technology, to cancer development research, and making use of these chips like storing huge amount of data also about various organ functions. So scientists are trying to use these chips to study the human behavior, to study the animal behavior, the tissues and the functions of various organs in humans. So multiple innovations could be achieved making use of microfluidized chips and studying physiology with such kind of tools. Now, trends shaping the Indian biotechnology industry for 2020 and the coming times, the post-COVID times. Here we see that innovations can help India's biotechnology. Now, coming forward to the biotechnology industry and sector, focusing in India, we see that the biotechnology growth and industry and economy is going to hit, enormously by 2025, says the CEO, that is Shri Amitabh Kant, while he is the CEO of NITI Aayog, and he has mentioned that biotechnology parks and incubators and the coming up of so many MSMEs in the country will facilitate the scientific fraternity, to work more with technology demonstration, technology transfer, to arrange pilot studies, and also, thinking to commercialize the same for global development. So biotech players are, betting big on COVID-19 vaccines also. Here I would like to mention that ICMR is facilitating, and as per the data of ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Research, Bharat Biotech's Covaxin and Zydus Cadila's ZyCoV-D had successfully completed the first phase of clinical trials, and now it is in the second one. The third candidate is the Frey, that is Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which is manufactured in India by the Serum Institute under the brand name Covishield. So COVID-19 pandemic has caused unprecedented changes locally, regionally, globally, I should say, and has really changed the game. So India, being the world's largest producer of generic drugs and controls 20% of the global exports by volume. So now in the coming times, the biotech startups are going to increase enormously, likely to home around 10,000 by 2024. So around 2,500 biotech companies, are going to emerge, and India is going to emerge as a very leading powerhouse for clinical trials and manufacturing. Now here the CEO, Shri Adar Poonawalla, says that working on 5 vaccine candidates, 3 are being manufacturing deals with international biotech firms, while 2 are being developed in the country. So we are in the thick of the action and the waiting for the vaccine. So reprogramming cells, forensic biotechnology, the totipotency being used, single and cell suspension culture technology being used for wide-scale multiplication, and making use of bioreactors for the harnessing of important bioactive compounds from plants is being in the forefront. Then biotech companies will be facing, some more marketing challenges in the coming times, as they are witnessing a very high surge also as far as economy is concerned. So when clinical trials are open to funding and getting a drug or treatment to market, companies are also in
Ma'am, you have 5 minutes left.
Yes, sir. Sure, I will conclude. The companies
Thank
are
you.
in the process of developing promising drugs. The stock prices usually rise. So if the company is not able to make the expected profit on its therapeutic substance or the drug, the investors, start losing hope, and the stock prices, witness many pitfalls. So the drug pricing and paying for getting drugs to market are 2 separate challenges. So the companies have to face these challenges and try to create a balance between managing expectations and maintaining balance. So some of the highest paying jobs in biotechnology for you all dear students who are going to aspire in this coming booming field, I have mentioned here for your information. Some of them I have mentioned. So the bottom line, or I could say blurring the line between biology and technology, or advancing in the biotechnology industry, where quality is again very, very important element for any industry, for any firm, for any pilot level study, or when we talk about commercial development. biotech industry forms an integral part of our life as an individual per se, and is also very important for our existence. So the trends which we have, seen in the presentation, they showcase, today's biotech professionals. They require much more than just having a simple background in biology or chemistry or pharmaceutical science, really to advance in their careers. So, along with this, some business skills and strategies are also required, which are very, very important for managing a research project or managing a technical team or managing a startup or an industry. While at the other hand, we require technology expertise also. This adds a real-time weightage and analysis to the cutting-edge research and development going in various fields. So with this, I conclude my talk, and I'm open to any query, any questions which you have. Thank you so much, sir, for giving this opportunity to me so that I could present a small overview of the recent trends and advances going on in the subject. So thank you so much again for patient listening and giving me a chance to discuss science with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Dr. Sugandha Singh, and it was really